Guys, it's Sloppy Saturdays, back at you guys with another episode. And if you guys love draft coverage, this is the place to be, as we've been covering the draft the last 3 months, and we're going to keep getting continuous videos out to you guys on the draft as we keep going on in the next couple of weeks. And today, we have one of the most underlooked stories in the NFL draft. I don't know if it's because of Shedeur Sanders falling back, getting all the hype, but this story is absolutely unreal. We're getting to you guys for our college football fans, for our NFL fans. We're talking about one of the biggest drop-offs and the biggest bag fumble we have possibly ever seen. Yes, we are talking about Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers drops to the 7th round of the NFL draft this past week. And Quinn Ewers, if anybody knows him, this was one of the most, you could argue, the most hyped quarterback prospects we have ever seen, at least in the new age era. He got ratings very similar to Trevor Lawrence. You know how hyped he was. And you could argue he got the best ratings out of any quarterback ever out of high school. Now, we know his story. He starts out at Ohio State, doesn't get playing time there, and he goes to Texas. He definitely builds a legacy at Texas. When you look at last year, he had over 3,400 yards, 31 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Year before that, he had 3,400 yards again with 23 touchdowns. But we never really saw Quinn Ewers get over that hump into what we thought he was going to be. He had a pretty deep college run last year as he got to the goal line against Ohio State, one game away from the national championship, and we all know how that went. But with Arch Manning knocking on the door, Quinn Ewers either had to decide to the NFL draft or he had to transfer out. Now, we're going to talk about today how Quinn Ewers made the complete wrong decision. So, when we look at players, somebody similar to Carson Beck, somebody similar to Cam Ward last year. If anybody knows Cam Ward, last year was mocked as a third-round pick at best. He transfers out to a better situation for him. He goes to Miami. He's the first overall pick in this draft. If anybody knows Carson Beck was projected to be the first overall pick in this draft class this year at this time last year. He did not have the season he wanted to. He transfers to Miami. Very ironic, as we just talked about Cam Ward, and he gets $4 million, over $4 million to transfer to Miami. If he would have entered this year, he would have probably been a third-round pick or farther back. He gets way more money to stay into college and to rebuild his draft stock. And this is what I think Quinn Ewers absolutely should have done. I don't know why Quinn Ewers entered the NFL draft. I don't know who's on his team because he was a 7th rounder. His stock was at an all-time low. When we were talking about Quinn Ewers for the last 2 years, we were talking about him potentially being a first-round pick. Now, in the offseason, Quinn Ewers was garnering NIL deals up to $8 million. Now, we don't know where that $8 million was coming from. Again, it could be a school that he would have no interest in going in. But looking at what Carson Beck got, looking at what Cam Ward got, and some other people, this guy would have got at least $4 million next year to transfer out and go to another school and rebuild his draft stock. Instead, what does he do? He stays in school. I mean, he comes out and he goes in the 7th round. His total deal over 4 years for a 7th round pick is $4 million. He would be making the money next year if he stayed in college for 1 year than he is in the totality of his deal. Now, the rebuttal from people is he wanted to go down as a Texas Longhorn. He loved Texas. That's his legacy. If anybody watched Gruden's QB class, he does have a Longhorn tattoo as well. But again, your legacy could only mean so much. You have to make the best decision for you. And if next year you could have rebuilt your draft stock and made more money than you're making on your total deal in the NFL over 4 years, it's an absolute no-brainer. I get it. I get the legacy thing. I get you can't put a price on a legacy. But again, this is your career. This sets you up for the rest of your life. You could have made more money, like we mentioned, than you would be making in the NFL. And not only that, you could have rebuilt your draft stock and set up your career for years to come. It's way different even being a 2nd round pick compared to a 7th round pick. A 7th round pick, people drafted in the 7th round, realistically, I know there's a story for everything. They realistically have no shot at being a long-term starting quarterback. Like less than 5% of being a long-term starting quarterback. Again, he does go to the Miami Dolphins, which is a very interesting situation We know Tua and his health concerns. Maybe he gets on the field and is able to prove himself. But I feel like in a no-brainer decision, Quinn Ewers somehow made the wrong decision. Would have got more money, would have been able to rebuild his draft stock in a weak quarterback class. He was in the 7th round. Absolutely no sense what Quinn Ewers did here. I have personally never seen anything like this type of bag fumble. And like I said, with stories with more hype players possibly in the NFL draft, this story is just getting way overlooked. But I think it's a huge story. Again, I don't really like diving into people's pockets, counting their money, but again, everybody knows the money's people make in NIL. Everybody knows the money quarterbacks are making in NIL. And a quarterback as hyped as Quinn Ewers coming out of high school, listen, he could have got a bag this year to stay, and he could have rebuilt his draft stock. Instead, he's making less money total over 4 years. I don't get it at all. That wraps out this episode of Sloppy Saturdays. And like I said, stay tuned for more and more draft content, and we are out.